Hello, my name is Anna Rose. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Videopath. We do interactive video for content marketers and brands. And I'm sitting here with Dr. Annette Werner from the University of Tübingen. And yeah, maybe we could start with you introducing yourself a little bit.
Yeah, hello, thank you for having me here. A great pleasure to be at the TOA. I'm from the University of Tübingen, and I work at the Institute for Ophthalmic Research, which belongs or is part of the eye hospital there. And I'm responsible for the color and vision lab. And the research we do there is concerned with color vision deficiencies. That's our clinical work. We investigate causes of it and sometimes how it can be treated. Another big part of our research is on understanding how the color code works in the brain. In other words, how the neural processes work that lead to color perception.
So, and you're here at the event to speak about the meme that sort of went around the internet this year.
That's
the dress.
That's true, yeah.
Maybe you want to talk a little bit about that. Is that the actual dress?
That is the, well, it is. Yeah, it's the dress from the same company. It is actually the same type of dress and the same material. And it has some very interesting features material-wise, but what made, of course, the whole viral appearance in the internet was the fact that people see it so differently. And that is something that is for us as color researchers extremely interesting, because it shows us, A, that we don't really understand the color code yet completely. And secondly, it shows us how important cognitive influences are on color vision, how we perceive color, because people don't see color the same. Color is something very subjective.
That was actually, so that was when I learned I was going to be doing this interview. One of the first questions that I had was this idea that, when I see the color red, when I see it, I've been thinking this for some time. I have a certain idea of that exact color, and there's no way that I would know as a non-scientist whether or not somebody else will see that red in the same way.
Right, and I tell you what, also scientists would not know that. Nobody knows whether the person like you see the same color or the same dress or the same piece of paper in the same color as I do. And this is known since a long time as the problem in philosophy. Actually, it's a philosophical problem as well, the problem of qualia. And it means that we will never be able to tell whether we perceive exactly the same red or the same blue as the other person. So this has been known for a long time. But what is so special about the dress is that there are two categories of people who firmly think they see the dress right, and they cannot even imagine seeing it in a different way. And we have never had that before. It's actually an ambiguity phenomenon that we know from other domains in vision, like the Necker cube. That's the drawing of a cube that flips in depth. The depth appearance flips, yeah? And everybody knows that one. But for color, we haven't seen that before. And so that makes the dress such an interesting research topic.
Because it actually, there was a split. There were people who adamantly believed it was white and gold and adamantly believed it was blue and black. What about, I have a question for you though, because when I saw it, obviously I knew that it was, I saw blue and black, and but I also understood that there was doubt about that. I felt like I could also see the white and gold. I also understood where people were seeing that, and I understood why, if you look at it flat, you could actually see those colors in it. Have you, is that
actually,
also part of it?
That's a very interesting thing you say there, because we have noticed that there are people who can flip between both perceptions. Some people can do it voluntarily, others can't voluntarily. It just flips by itself. So some person told me, I saw the dress yesterday, and today it looks completely different to me. And we cannot explain that either. So it seems to be something weird going on in the assumptions that we make about, that's our smoking gun in the moment, so to say, in research, that we make assumptions about the illumination and what color the dress could be. And these are the cognitive aspects I talked about before. I mentioned those. And that means that these have a very strong influence on how we see the world. Now, this is actually, when you think about it, really scary, because it means that we know that we don't see the world exactly as it is, because everything we see is constructed in the brain, but that it is that much influenced by our pre-experience and our memory, we didn't think that.
I actually had not realized that there was actually a scientific kind of challenge with this.
Absolutely. Cool. When this dress came out, we have a network for color researchers. It's called CVNet. And when the dress came about, and somebody put this question in the net, so how do we explain it? And for weeks we were putting in our discussion through nights, and it was really exhausting. And some of us let everything else go, not work on other projects anymore, just think about how we can explain it. But we couldn't explain it until now, and there are many research projects now concerned with this question, because it goes to the heart of understanding what color really is and how the color code in the brain works.
Have you actually seen other examples of this ever?
No, that is the funny thing. This is the very first time that we came across that. We haven't come across an ambiguity phenomenon in color before, and we have tried now different materials and different colors, and okay, they all change a little bit the color when we change the light on them, but there is never this ambiguity or this ambivalence that some people call it a totally different color category than others. No, we haven't found that. So, and I think when one can find that, or one can manipulate the whole setting, and we are actually able in our lab to do that, then we can find a way to understand how it works and why we see it so differently.
Another thought, and maybe you can debunk this, but I had when I first heard about this, I thought it had something to do with color blindness. That maybe there was...
You're not the only one who thought that, and of course people who have... We rather prefer to call it color vision deficiencies, because people who lack... You know that humans have 3 types of color receptors. Let's call them blue, green and red. And so if you lack one, then you are not totally colorblind. Colorblind you are only if you have just one type of receptor. Then you only see, say, shades of gray, like in the film. But otherwise, you see still colors, but you cannot discriminate them anymore. If you don't have a red receptors, then you cannot distinguish between reds and greens. And you do see the world in shades of yellowish and blue, of course. But in that case, that would then be true for everything you see. So it wouldn't be specific for the dress, and that's why this is not an explanation.
I remember people got very excited about it. I actually could see in my Twitter feed like the people who believed one side or the other.
Yes, yes.
So it's the same when you have any sort of political debate. You see the people with one side or another.
It's the same kind of firmness in belief, right?
Yeah. Were the people, did you hear anything about those people that felt it was white and gold and they were very disappointed or weirded out when they actually found out it wasn't? Did you hear anything from them?
When they see the real dress. Now, yeah, they are very astonished that they can see on a photo the colors so differently. But then don't forget it's that photo. And the thing about the photo is that there is a lot of information missing in the photo that you have in the real world. So in the real world, and that is very good, our brain and all processes serves us very well by taking into account all the different information, and that saves us from these kind of wrong color perceptions that we have for the photo, because on the photo we don't really know, is it in the shade or is it in the sun, what is the background, it's all ambiguous, and that's what we think in the moment makes these two different percepts.
And actually the follow-up to that then is when they saw when they saw sort of the context of the photo,
yes.
Did it switch? Because we talked a little bit about how I understood it and decided I can switch back and forth, but did they go back and look and it actually changed?
That is a very interesting observation. And actually, yes, some people do. Some people then start to see it also more bluish. And that again shows that experience and color memory, or what we think how it should look like, has an influence of how we see it.
adding context to color changes something.
Yes.
Cool. So I think we're going to shift the conversation. Is this your first time at TOA?
Yes, it is. And actually, I have to say, I wished I would have come here earlier. So I'm very happy that my dear husband, Mirko Whitfield, brought this to my attention and said, you have to go to TOA, it's so interesting. And he is absolutely right. And it's a totally different conference than the conferences I usually go to, are scientific conferences where you have people gather who work in just one field. And and in the case here, there are so many different disciplines here, which makes it really, really interesting. I mean, there are so many talks I would like to go to now, because they are from other fields that interest me. And also the whole new technology that I see here, we don't have on our so old-fashioned research conferences, or on other conferences probably as well, other conventions.
Yeah, it's definitely it's one of my favorite conferences.
I think it will become, it has become now my favorite too.
Do you plan on coming back next year?
Yes, I do.
Thank you so much for the talk.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.
Cool. And I look forward to seeing you next year at TOA.